All right, welcome back, everyone. For those of you outside the room, please join us back in the room and take a seat. We're going to jump right back into the day with an inside look at DARPA's contracting process. John Bauer and James Rich, also known as MAC, from DARPA Contracts Management Office are here and will be guiding us through the different types of solicitations, funding opportunities, and contract timelines. Please take your seat and join me in welcoming John and Mac.
All right. Oh, wow. Thank you. Sorry, I think everyone is sitting. Great. Okay. So we are going to talk about money, which everybody loves. Actually, I've already introduced myself, so I'll just turn it over to John to introduce himself.
Okay, yeah, you've already heard from Mac a little bit about his background. My name is John Bauer. I am also in the Contracts Management Office. I'll talk a little bit more about my portfolio of work in a couple other slides, but real briefly, I handle what we call our Rapid OT portfolio. So other transactions all day, every day, and I specifically support the Defense Sciences Office, our Information Innovation Office, and our Microsystems Technology Office. And then you also heard a little bit about Mac's background and his path to DARPA, and I'd like to chime in a little bit as well. So I started, I think the panel mentioned that a number of them came as CETAs, and I also started at DARPA as a CETA. I had about 15 years prior experience before coming to DARPA on the industry side. So we're super enthusiastic, really looking forward to talking to you because, you know, I started out as a contracting specialist at a small business, one of those companies where, you know, getting that next contract can potentially double the size of the company. So really high energy environment. So we're really sympathetic to the questions that you're working through. So I had about 15 years prior experience on the industry side, and then I got the opportunity to be a CETA contracting specialist at DARPA. So started to sort of do the contracting work on the government side, and then a few years ago I hopped over formally to the government side as a contracting officer and have never looked back. So really enjoyed the time at DARPA. So with that, I think we will go ahead and move on to the next slide here.
Great. So what we're going to do for you all today is we are going to walk you through how fast DARPA tries to get you on contract and get you some money. We're going to keep it a little educational at the beginning. We're going to talk about solicitation types at DARPA and award types at DARPA. And then we're going to go into we're going to walk you basically from solicitation release to award and even post-award. And John and I are going to talk about sort of some of the things we think that companies can take advantage of and some tips and tricks that we would implement if we were on your side.
And then also throughout the discussion today, there's a few themes that we're going to kind of weave in and out and would like to reinforce. And those three kind of major takeaways are that we're constantly trying to streamline, simplify our contracting process. It could be via something on a larger scale, like I think later today you'll hear about our Eris Marketplace. That's a whole entire marketplace where we advertise opportunities. Also, it could be something as simple that's not transparent to you all at all, but we're going through, like with my programs, streamlining our processes. Are we using the right formats for our cost proposal workbooks? Are we asking for too much documentation from our program managers? So we're constantly looking at all the different ways we can tweak and refine our processes and procedures to get to contract faster. And then second, I think you've heard a lot about the partnership from our program managers in Contracts Management Office as well. We really value that partnership, and we really feel like we are partners with you. So that could come in the form of how we approach talking about agreements or negotiations. We've also been starting to use something called alpha negotiations quite a bit recently, where it's really more of a hands-on collaborative process. So we're really here to help and really want to provide that support and partnership. And then ultimately, we want to expand the performer base. I think I've got a couple statistics here. If I have my numbers right, I think there's 43% of you all, at least in the audience and online, are your first experience with DARPA, and 33% your first experience with DARPA Connect. So we're super excited to talk to you today to ultimately expand that performer base.
Yep. So just sort of, this is just to give you a high level idea of what we're trying to do, how we're trying to streamline and get you on contract faster, because, as small businesses, even startups, your runway for cash is very limited. So we don't want to cause you to go out of business because we can't get you on contract fast enough. So we're really trying to speed things up. So a full program award, that's pretty much what a PM typically awards, like a speed program or, some random acronym program that's PM specific, 5.5 months. But all of these times are if you add up the maximum days on here. So when we get to SBIR and STTR, I've awarded phase 2s and phase 1s. It's $1.8 million in 4 days. But it takes 2 to tango. And so you all really need to be prepared and ready for the process that we're going to walk you through, because, we have to work as a team to get you on contract fast.
Yeah, and likewise with I talked to you about the Rapid OT portfolio. So down there it says negotiation and to award in 15 days. Just like Mac just mentioned, a lot of times I'm able to get under that. So it might be 10 days, it might be a little bit less. And with ARIS as well, I think we have our good friend Nick. I think has managed to work out an award or a negotiation in, and was it 5 days, something like that. So these are definitely kind of on the higher end, but still really quick in terms of getting on contract. So and then just wanted to, before we move on to the next slide, I just wanted to give a few details of the Rapid OT portfolio. Like I said, we support the Defense Sciences Office, Microsystems Technology Office, and Information Innovation Office. And these agreements, these programs are typically on the lower dollar side, around maximum of $2 million, 18 to 24 months period of performance, usually a couple phases. So if you're a small business out there and you see the SBIRs and the STTRs, and you're also wondering what other opportunities are out there, take a look at the Rapid OT portfolio. The Disruptioneering program announcement is out there, the Microsystems Technology exploration announcement, and then the artificial intelligence exploration announcement. And there are topics that come out under those as well. So let's see.
Great. All right. So we're gonna probably speed through the next 2 slides because there are very in-depth DARPA Connect lessons online. So for broad agency announcements, they're FAR-based. They're very well structured. They'll probably be the same thing every time about. DARPA uses them because you can award any type of contract vehicle off of them, whether it be a FAR type procurement contract or an other transaction, or an assistance instrument like a cooperative agreement or a grant. The thing that I really want to call out here is there are 2 types of BAAs at DARPA. There's the program specific BAA, but there's also the office-wide BAA that you can propose to at any time throughout the year. Every single technical office has an open BAA. And if you read it, there are usually 4 thrust areas that the office focuses on. And you can submit a white paper to it. It doesn't even involve you having to submit a proposal. You submit the white paper, you will get feedback on your idea. And then if they like it, they will ask you to submit a proposal. And if they don't, you'll still get feedback so you can improve for the next time.
In a similar way, so the BAAs that Mac just talked about are typically FAR-based programs. It could be office-wide or program-specific. We also have a number of other types of announcements. Research announcements are one of those where they are program-specific, but we're not going to be awarding FAR-based procurement contracts off of that. It would be grants, cooperative agreements, or OTs for research. So a little bit more on the assistance side as opposed to the acquisition side. And then we also have exploration announcements. So with an exploration announcement, we're also awarding other transactions for research, but that's an interesting one where you might have, it's an office-wide, so you might have an exploration announcement out there for the Defense Sciences Office, but then there are specific topics that get announced kind of underneath that. So if you think of the exploration announcement as kind of that umbrella announcement, which you would not submit a proposal to, but then when topics come out underneath that, that is what you can go ahead and submit your proposal against.
Program solicitations are kind of like program BAAs, except they are not rigid. They're very flexible and creative. So normally they're tailored to that specific program. So you're going to have very unique proposal instructions typically, and you can only award OTs for prototypes off of them.
And similarly to what I just mentioned with exploration announcements, so the award type there is OT for research. With a program announcement, the award instrument is an other transaction for prototype. So prototype there can be pretty broad. It could be something like a new vehicle, or it could be a new process, or it could be a line of code. We intentionally have the definition of a prototype pretty broad. But there again, you also have an office-wide announcement with topics underneath that. So similar to the exploration announcements, but the focus is different insofar as the award type is an other transaction for prototype versus other transaction for research. And then finally, we've got the ARIS Marketplace. I won't touch too much on it because my friend is going to be talking. Simon is going to be talking a lot more about this in more detail. But just wanted to mention real quickly that that's another opportunity where you'll see announcements made. So you have a series of enduring topics, kind of like core topics, and then every so often you'll have a special topic that might come or go depending on the time frame. Also there, the interaction kind of starts with a 7-minute video pitch. And a series of 4 PowerPoint slides that go along with that. And the intent there is velocity through competition and award. So once you're deemed awardable there, it's considered a post-competition environment. So one of the neat things is communication is a little bit more wide open. So on one of these more traditional announcements, a lot of times performers and program managers honestly are kind of wondering, when can we communicate openly? So this is an interesting opportunity.
These are the most common award types that DARPA does. Procurement contracts subject to the FAR and the DFARs. They are not commercial-like or flexible like OTs. There are 2 types: cost plus fixed fee and firm fixed price. Firm fixed price is based on achievable milestones. You say that I'm going to build a widget, and this is the critical path that I need to build the widget. So we attach payments to each of those milestones. So when you hit it, you get paid. Cost plus fixed fee is you bill every 2 weeks for the cost that you've incurred and the fee associated with it. To get a CPFF type contract, you do need a certified cost accounting system with DCAA. So typically I don't see startups or fairly new small businesses with that. So it's firm fixed price normally. Some advice that I give to all the small businesses that I work with: if you plan on doing more business with the government, maybe dip your toe in with an OT, but you should eventually do a FAR type contract to know that, this is how big DoD does business. If you're planning on doing, one-offs here and there with DARPA and you're mostly commercial, I recommend OTs because they're more commercial-like, and you shouldn't change your whole business structure just for one contract.
And just to jump in there on a little bit more detail with grants and cooperative agreements, one of the key things we like to underscore is the notion of substantial involvement. So with a grant, if you got a grant, the government is not expecting substantial involvement there. So it's an oversimplification, but you kind of get your grant, get your money, and then kind of go off and do the work. But with a cooperative agreement, the difference there is that we do expect substantial involvement. So the program manager may feel that he or she wants to have a little bit more influence on the direction of the work. And so then at that point, if that is needed for the program or the agreement, we would tend to steer more towards a cooperative agreement. And then moving into some of the non-traditional award instruments. So If any of you, I think a lot of you, the majority, 62% of the audience today is either a non-traditional or a nonprofit research institution. So if you want to get involved with DARPA, but are maybe a little hesitant about the big, scary procurement contract, OTs could be a way for you, a good way in the door. So contrasting with the procurement contracts, OTs are outside the confines of the FAR, so the FAR and DFARs don't apply. Also, cost accounting standards don't apply, so you don't need to worry about that. With an OT for research, the end result is typically a white paper or a study, something like that. With an OT for prototype, a little bit self-explanatory, but the end result is typically a prototype of some variety. But these are great potential entry points. So if any of you out there in the audience are more familiar with commercial terms and conditions, our OTs, by the way, you can go on to the Acquisition Innovation website, which we'll talk about later, and get comfortable with the terms and conditions way ahead of time. But the terms and conditions are modeled after commercial terms and conditions. So these are also a great way for you guys to get involved with terms and conditions that you might be a little bit more familiar with, rather than however many dozens of government clauses that we put into the procurement contract. So.
All right, now we'll get into tips and tricks. Oftentimes with programs, sometimes even with SBIRs and STTRs, we've started doing this at Well. There will be industry days that can be attended by anyone who is interested in proposing to the program. Sometimes they come out before the solicitation. Sometimes they happen after solicitation. If it happens after the solicitation is released, I highly recommend you read the solicitation so you have an idea. But this is a great way to basically hear the PM verbalize their goals and their vision for the program. I think it is a great way to understand in a way that, paper can't. We are also increasingly customizing things with contracting and security. So you'll also be able to talk to contracting and security personnel that are assigned to that program. So if you have any questions on what we're doing contracting wise, any unique proposal requirements, you can talk to us. You can also talk to the security folks. And finally, it's just great networking. So if you're good at one thing, but you're not good at the other thing, you can network with other companies and try to find a team.
And that's also an opportunity. So say at the industry day, if we have the solicitation out there and it's a program solicitation or a program announcement, that's where we might be able to provide you some details, some initial details on the agreement type, whether we're only going to be awarding OTs for prototype, or if it's something off of the a program specific BAA, we would be talking about all the different award types. So that's a great opportunity there. And moving on to abstracts. So this is an interesting part of the process. So I want to talk about abstracts and oral presentations kind of at the same time. So increasingly, we tend to be using abstracts as part of the process. So if there is an abstract stage in the process, it's usually requiring or asking for a short 3 to 5 page white paper. And really what we're trying to do there is use that as a feedback mechanism to assess the feasibility of the idea. And occasionally a PM will use that as a decision point. It might be used as a gate. So if the abstract is not workable for the PM, we might end the process there, for lack of a better word. And then we also, on top of that, more often recently are also adding an oral presentation stage. So you might find an announcement come out that says we're going to have abstracts due at a certain date, and then shortly thereafter we'll make a decision and maybe invite a smaller subset of the group in for oral presentations. So you just keep your eyes and ears open for that as well. And then we also wanted to talk to you a little bit about preparing your proposal. I think another session or two will go into a little bit more detail, but just real briefly, please read that BAA carefully. Mac and I are when we're working on drafting the BAA, we're in close contact with our program managers, with the tech offices. So all of those details that are in there are deliberate and intentional, whether it's page count or any of those small details. So we just ask that you read that BAA carefully, understand the evaluation criteria, conformance. So whether it's page limits or font, we would hate for you to be knocked out of the process if the page limit is over, or you're using too high or too low of a font. And then think about the agreement type, and that extends a little bit towards the partnership that we like to talk about. So, are you seeking a procurement contract, or are you looking for an OT, or what have you? You can request, make that request in your proposal. It may or may not result in the award instrument that is ultimately awarded, but do think about that ahead of time in terms of what you would like for the agreement.
And finally, negotiations, award, and post-award. Real quickly, for contracts and OTs, if you're proposing to a BAA, you should understand what you would want to do, and you should put your preference in your proposal. Ultimately, the contracting officer gets to decide the contract vehicle, but we will always take into consideration what you all prefer and why. Model agreements and solicitations. To speed up negotiations, we've started putting model agreements in solicitations. So that is your opportunity to redline it, understand it, and send that to us as sort of your opening position for negotiations. Everything can be messed with in an OT and negotiated. Data rights and IP, CBER data rights are not taken away from you whether you do an OT or not. The important thing to think about for data rights is you really just need to assert what is being delivered under the contract. A lot of people like to assert background information that they're using to develop something under the contract, but you don't need to do that. Milestones, this kind of goes to us, being collaborative. We will work with you on your milestones. The last thing we want for you all is to go into the red. And so oftentimes I will talk to small businesses when I am negotiating with them, and I will actually help them and say, why are you proposing this milestone? Is it actually part of your spend plan? Or are you worried that, if you ask for too much money up front, we won't give it to you? Because with small businesses, we know that you all need some money to get up and running. We have no issue with that. And I will walk through your milestones with you. And I think every contracting officer probably will. And we'll just work together through the whole thing.
And then I also like to go back and touch on data rights and IP for a second, and underscore one point. So really, we're as an agency, we're trying not to ask for more than what we need. So early on in the acquisition life cycle, we're talking with PMs about acquisition strategy, the design of the program. I actually I see Andy Detour in the back of the room. He's one of the programs that I've supported, and I had a conversation with him early on. I think it was the Intact program, in terms of what type of data rights do we need? Do we need unlimited rights? And maybe we don't. Maybe we only need government purpose rights, or there could be something outside, government purpose rights, unlimited rights. Those are sort of the typical FAR-based terms that we're conditioned to understand. But if we're working with OTs, we're outside the FAR, so we could have a whole different solution regarding data rights and IP that we can come up with. So we really try to get creative and try not to ask for more than what we need. And then partners in the acquisition. I just wanted to highlight again some interesting things that we're doing recently. I've been doing a lot more with Alpha Negotiations. I think Mac has, and a number of our colleagues. That's just a great example of us kind of stepping back. And rather than maybe a 2 or 3 week exchange of emails, and maybe you can't understand the inflection in everybody's voice, and you might miss some points in the negotiation, that's an opportunity for us to step back, get on a call, talk about the agreements. And a lot of times, honestly, I've done some of these sessions, and we're able to negotiate an agreement within the confines of a 1 hour call rather than a 2 to 3 week email exchange. So a great way for us to, one, speed up the process, but also sort of step back and kind of connect with you all as individuals and partners in the process.
Yep. And so with that, we're at time, but like John said, I would say the main point here is the second point. We are humans, not just contracting officers. PMs are too. All employees at DARPA are people. We love talking to you all. We went through this very quickly, so if you see us during the breaks, please come up and talk to us. We're always happy to help with any questions you have.
Real quick before we get off the stage, I just wanted, since I know that you guys are, so many of you are so new to working with the government and DARPA in particular, if you are not yet registered on grants.gov or sam.gov, those are our key resources for you. So if you're looking at where are the opportunities going to come out, I think we mentioned earlier in the day that you will see opportunities on the DARPA website, but also do get registered and look. You can set save searches on grants.gov and sam.gov and look at both places, because sometimes there might be a grant or a program that's going to award grants or cooperative agreements. That's going to be on grants.gov, and if you're looking at sam.gov, you might miss it, or vice versa. And then we've got the SBIR portal. I mentioned the Acquisition Innovation website. That's a great resource where the Contracts Management Office, we have all of our templates out there. So if you're interested in getting familiar with the other transaction agreements and those terms and conditions, we post all of those updated templates out there for your education. So thank you very much for coming out today and giving us the opportunity. And do come up to us and ask us any questions throughout the day. We're really excited to interact with you.
Yeah, thank you all for coming.